So in the previous video, we just set up our camera rig. So that's our basic SteamVR camera rig. I've just added a texture to the plane just to make it a bit more interesting to look at, also so that we can see where we're moving around at. So what we want to do now is we want to set up a teleporter so that we can jump around on this plane here. To actually do this, we need a few extra packages, and I've gone ahead and installed them already. So over here in my project, you can see the list of the packages that I have. You can also see the list on screen here, but I'll also put it in the description of the video. Some of the more important parts that we need to install would be the teleporter. We also need to have Interactables so that we can use our controllers. We also need the Unity XR camera rig so that we can get interactions to work with the Unity XR that we just chose when we imported SteamVR. And of course, we also need our object pointers so that we can have a Bezier pointer pointing out from our controllers, selecting where we want to teleport to. So let's start by setting up a button. The way that you do that is you need to check if the button is pressed or not, and this is done by a Boolean action. So we can right click here, we can create an empty game object. In this case, it's going to be for teleportation, so I'll rename it teleport button or BTN. So inside of this empty game object, we want to add a few components. These components are actually located inside of the SteamVR SDK here. So if we unfold this, we go into shared resources, and under input, you can actually see these different script files here. There is one for Boolean that we'll be needing now, then for float values, for vectors, so both for vector 2 and 3 in this case. So we will need the Boolean action, drag and drop that onto the teleport. Now we have it situated right here, and as you can see, it needs to have a linked Boolean. This is the SteamVR's own button press that it will listen for, so we need to add a component here. So in this case here, we'll write Steam VR, and it's a behavior, and we need to go all the way down here to SteamVR behavior Boolean. This behavior Boolean we can actually drag and drop right into our linked Boolean field right here. So one thing to keep in mind is, of course, you need to set up which Boolean action it is and the input source. It might say here that you haven't set up your interactions yet. If not, you need to go to Window, you need to go to SteamVR input and click it. And in this field here, you'll need to click Save and Generate. In some cases, it's done beforehand when you install one of the packages, but in this case, we might need to click it here, and then it'll compile. It takes a few minutes to complete. So in here, we can set the Boolean action to whatever type of button we would like. In this case, I would like it to be the teleport. In this case, that's the thumbstick on my Oculus controllers that I'm pushing forward, so teleport. I would like the input source to be on the right hand, so only the right hand controller thumbstick will actually activate this teleport. So next up, what we need to do now is we need to make sure that we have our teleporter and also our pointer inside of our hierarchy. So I'll just close this folder here for now. I'll go into my objects pointers, unfold that, unfold runtime, go to prefabs, and in here you can see you can both get a curved and a straight pointer. I want to take the curved one, so that's the one I will add to my hierarchy. Close this one back up. Now I'll go to my teleporter. So unfold the teleporter, go into runtime, go into prefabs, and then take the instant teleporter and add that into my hierarchy as well. I'd also like to set up my controller so that they have interactability. So I'll unfold the Tilia interactions interactable Unity. And then under the prefabs as well, there is an interactions interactor. This is something that I would then need to add into my camera rigs. So unfolding the camera rigs, camera rig, and going into the controller left and right, you can see here I have my two controllers. I can take my interactor, add one to the right controller, and add one to the left controller. We don't have to do anything specific to it now, but we'll add a grab action in a minute so that we can actually grab stuff and throw it around as well. So this is currently how your hierarchy should look. What we need to do now is we need to go into the curved pointer and tell it how it should be activated. The way that we want to activate it is the follow source should be the controller itself. So that's the controller right. So this one here, I'll drag that into my follow source. Setting an activation action, that's going to be my teleport button. So I'll add that as my activation. I also want the same button to be the selection action, meaning that as soon as I let go, I want it to teleport me. So I'll put that same button into my selection action here. And instead of having the selection method to be on activate, I'll set it to be on deactivate. So the only thing left to do here in this is actually setting the teleport itself in the selected event down here. So clicking that one, it has an empty list. So click the plus button, you should get a field here. You can drag your teleporter right into this none field here. It asks which function it should execute, and you'll click, select the transporter facade and go all the way up. It says teleport under dynamic event data. Sorry, it's a bit out of screen here. That's what we need to set up for the pointer. Now we want to go to the teleporter instant here, and we want to set this one up as well. So the target is our play area, meaning we need to find our entire play area, which is in this case my camera rig. So I'll drag my camera rig into the target. The offset is my head itself, so that is the camera rig itself. And so as you can see, I can look through my goggles here, through the VR headset. I can see this pointer, I can see my interactor, so that white cube thing. I can point and I can see that it hits the ground, and when I let go, it also jumps me to that specific position. So let's say you wanted to do multiple different camera rigs, like for instance, you don't only have SteamVR, but you also have, let's say, an Oculus and also the simulator that VRTK comes with. So the way to set this up would be to add a tracked alias. So if I unfold the tracked alias here and go to, again, runtime, prefabs, I get the camera rigs tracked alias. I can add that to my scene as well. So the only thing I have to do here is I need to go to elements, unfold that one, set the size of this array here to be 1. And now I can take my entire camera rig, so SteamVR camera rig here, and I can add that to my element 01 here. Let's say I also have a spatial simulator. So if I unfold spatial simulator, I also add that to the scene. So I have another camera rig here. You can see that I can actually just increase the size of my amount of camera rigs, and I can take my spatial simulator camera rig and add that to number 1. So in this case here, I would have multiple different camera rigs to choose from. One small change that you would have to do here though is to change the way that the teleporter works. So you would have to go into camera rig tracked alias and into the aliases. You would need to go to the left and right controller and add the specific interactors to those instead. So moving the left controller's interactor and moving the right controller's interactor. So now they are situated in here in the controller aliases. Also, the teleporter would then have to move the tracked alias instead. So selecting the teleporter, I'll take the play area and add that to my entire target. The offset is my headset alias. And in this case, I actually also have the scene cameras that I can add to the camera validity. So now this is set up to actually be able to access multiple different SDKs that you might want to use. Again, I can try to do a play test. And again, it spawns in. I can see my hands. I can even see the spatial simulator hovering over there. And I can teleport around, moving around my scene and jumping with the teleporter. So this is how you would set up a teleportation inside of VRTK4. In the next video, we'll look at interactions, so grabbing elements and throwing them around.